I lived with someone I didn't know existed for 93 days. He watched me sleep. He learned my schedule. He moved my things. Until 4:03 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, when I saw an eye staring down at me from a crack in my bedroom ceiling. At 3:41 a.m., I watched security camera footage of my landlord crawling out of my bedroom wall. He'd been there for 18 minutes, while I slept 5 feet away. This is the story of how my dream apartment became a nightmare, how I survived 3 months living with a predator hiding in my walls, and how I caught him. I lived with someone I didn't know existed for 93 days. He watched me sleep. He learned my schedule. He moved my things. He showered in my bathroom while I was at work, and I had no idea until 4:03 a.m. on a Tuesday morning when I saw an eye staring down at me from a crack in my bedroom ceiling. This is the story of how my dream apartment became a nightmare, how my landlord became my stalker, and how I survived 3 months living with a predator hiding in my walls. My name is Maya Patterson, and this is what happened. In September 2022, I was 29 years old and desperately searching for an apartment in Seattle. I'd been living with roommates since college, and after getting promoted to junior marketing manager at a tech startup, I was finally ready for my own place. I'd saved for 2 years for this moment. First month, last month, security deposit, moving costs. I had it all planned out. I was going to find a place with good light, maybe a small balcony, somewhere I could finally feel like an adult, somewhere that was mine. But anyone who's looked for housing in Seattle knows it's brutal. Every listing had 50 applicants. Studios were going for $2,000 a month. One bedrooms were completely out of reach. I went to viewings where 30 people showed up. Landlords wanted proof of income at 3 times the rent. Some wanted your credit score, employment history going back 5 years, references from previous landlords. It was exhausting. I'd been searching for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of disappointment and rejection. I was starting to think I'd be living with roommates forever. Then, on a rainy Tuesday evening in late September, I saw the listing. Charming 1-bedroom in Capitol Hill, hardwood floors, original details, updated kitchen, $1,400 per month, available immediately. I read it 3 times, $1,400. In Capitol Hill for a 1-bedroom. Capitol Hill apartments were going for at least $2,000, usually more. Something had to be wrong with this place. It had to be a scam, or a roach-infested basement unit, or have some catastrophic problem the photos weren't showing. Maybe it was next to a nightclub or had no windows. But I called anyway, because at that point, I had nothing to lose. Henderson Properties. This is Bob speaking. His voice was warm, friendly, grandfatherly even. The kind of voice that made you think of someone's kind uncle or a favorite high school teacher. He told me the apartment was in a building he'd owned for 30 years. A classic 1920s structure in the heart of Capitol Hill. Just 6 units total. He kept the rents below market, he explained, because he believed in supporting young professionals who were just starting out. I remember what it was like, he said with a gentle laugh. Seattle's gotten so expensive. When I bought this building back in 1992, you could still find affordable places. Now, it's insane. I like to help where I can. I don't need to get rich off my tenants. It sounded too good to be true, but his voice was so sincere, so genuine. We scheduled a viewing for that Saturday at 2 o'clock. I arrived 15 minutes early because I'm always early. The building was on a quiet, tree-lined street in Capitol Hill, just a few blocks from the main drag. It was beautiful. Classic 1920s brick architecture, the kind of building with real character. Not some modern box with thin walls and cheap fixtures. The entrance had original details. A carved wooden door, vintage light fixtures, black and white tile in the entryway. Bob Hendricks was waiting for me in the lobby. He looked exactly like he sounded. Mid-50s, maybe a bit older, thinning sandy brown hair, wire-rimmed glasses hanging on a beaded chain around his neck, khaki pants, light blue polo shirt, clean-shaven, round-faced, friendly smile. He looked like someone who'd spend his Saturdays at Home Depot, helping other customers find the right kind of nail for their project. He looked, in other words, exactly like someone's nice landlord. You must be Maya. He had a clipboard tucked under his arm and extended his hand for a shake. His handshake was firm, but not aggressive. Professional. Right on time. I like that. Come on up. I think you're going to love this place. We climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. The top floor, he explained. Just 2 units up here. Mine would be 3B. He unlocked the door and stepped aside to let me enter first. And he wasn't wrong. I did love it. The apartment was absolutely beautiful. Everything I'd been hoping for and more. High ceilings, at least 10 feet, with original crown molding. The kind of architectural details you just don't get in modern construction. Large windows, 3 of them in the main living area, that filled the space with afternoon sunlight. The light came in at an angle, creating these beautiful geometric shadows on the hardwood floors. The floors. God, those floors. Original hardwood, refinished but showing their age in that charming way. They creaked pleasantly when you walked on them. The kind of creak that said character, not structural damage. The living room flowed into a galley kitchen with new stainless steel appliances, white subway tile backsplash, butcher block countertops. It was small but efficient, perfect for one person. Through a doorway, I could see the bathroom. Vintage black and white hexagonal tile on the floor, a claw-foot tub with a shower attachment, an old-fashioned pedestal sink, and the bedroom. The bedroom had built-in bookshelves flanking the window, floor-to-ceiling shelves, painted white with intricate molding. There was even a small reading nook by the window, with just enough space for a chair. I could already picture myself there, reading on Sunday mornings, coffee in hand, my books on those shelves. Previous tenant was here for 8 years, Bob said, running his hand affectionately along one of the bookshelves. Sweet girl, teacher at Roosevelt High School, only left because she got married and her husband wanted something bigger. Family and all that. Hated to see her go, honestly. She took such good care of the place. I walked through the apartment, opening cabinets, checking the water pressure, looking for problems. There had to be a catch. This was too perfect. I know what you're thinking, Bob said with a knowing smile. Why's the rent so low? The thought had crossed my mind, I admitted. He adjusted his glasses, settled them on his nose. Like I said on the phone, I'm not trying to get rich here. I bought this building in 1992 for $150,000. Can you imagine? It's been paid off for years. I do all my own maintenance. I don't have a mortgage. I don't need to charge an arm and a leg. He looked around the apartment with something like pride. I've lived in Seattle my whole life, watched it change, watched people like you, young professionals, good people, get priced out. I don't want to be part of that problem. I just want good tenants who'll take care of the place and respect the building. It made sense, and he seemed so genuine, so kind. So what do you think? He asked. Want to fill out an application? I filled out the application right there, sitting at the kitchen counter. Bob waited patiently, making small talk about the neighborhood, good coffee shops nearby, a great little Thai place 2 blocks down, the bus line that went straight downtown. He reviewed the application while I waited, nodding along as he read. My employment history, my references, my credit score. Marketing manager, he said, looking up with an approving smile. That's wonderful, and your references look great. Stable employment, good income, clean rental history. He extended his hand again. Welcome to the building, Maya. When would you like to move in? Really? I couldn't believe it was that easy. Just like that? Just like that. You seem like exactly the kind of tenant I'm looking for. Responsible, professional. I trust my instincts about people. We settled on October 1st, 2 weeks away. Plenty of time to give notice to my current roommates and arrange for movers. Bob handed me the keys that afternoon after I signed the lease. Actually handed them to me. Right there. No waiting, no bureaucracy. Just trust. These are yours now, he said. Make yourself at home. 2 weeks later, on a bright October morning, I moved in. Bob met me at the building at 8 a.m., right on time. He helped me carry boxes up the 3 flights of stairs, never complaining, making jokes about getting his exercise for the day. For a guy in his 50s, he was in decent shape. He showed me around again, pointing out all the practical details I'd need to know. Where the circuit breaker was, in a small panel in the hallway closet. How to work the old radiators. You had to turn the valve counterclockwise, not clockwise like you'd expect. Where to put the trash and recycling on collection days. He handed me a welcome packet he'd put together. Wi-Fi information. His contact details. Phone number, email, home address just a few blocks away. Menus from nearby restaurants he recommended. A small map of the neighborhood with his favorite spots circled. I live close, he said, just 4 blocks that way. So, if you ever need anything, and I mean anything, just call. I try to handle repairs same day if possible. I know how frustrating it is to wait around for a landlord. Then he pointed to something I hadn't noticed before. A small panel in the hallway ceiling, right outside my door. It was maybe 2 feet square, painted the same cream color as the ceiling. You wouldn't notice it unless someone pointed it out. That's the access to the crawl space, he explained. Sometimes I need to get in there for plumbing work or electrical repairs. The pipes and wiring for all the units run through there. Building code requires I have access. I'll always give you 24 hours notice before I need to go up there, but I wanted you to know it exists. I looked up at the panel. It was secured with 4 small screws, completely unremarkable. No problem, I said. Whatever you need. He smiled. Enjoy your new home, Maya. I think you're really going to love it here. This building has good energy, good people. It's a special place. He left around noon after helping me get the last of the boxes upstairs. For the first week, I was in heaven. I spent every evening after work unpacking, arranging furniture, making the space mine. I hung curtains. I organized my books on those beautiful built-in shelves. I found the perfect spot for my small reading chair by the bedroom window. I loved everything about the apartment. The way the afternoon light came through the living room windows. The way the radiators clanked and hissed on cool mornings. The way the hardwood floors creaked in that comforting old building way. I loved coming home to my own space. No roommates, no compromises about the thermostat or who used the last of the milk. Just me, my apartment, my sanctuary. It was perfect. For 6 days, it was absolutely perfect. Then on day 6, things started to change. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were always my long days at work. We had standing team meetings that ran late, usually until 7 or 8 p.m. I came home exhausted, my feet aching from wearing heels all day. I dumped my bag on the kitchen counter, kicked off my shoes, and padded toward the bedroom to change into something comfortable. That's when I noticed it. My bedroom door was open. I stopped in the hallway, staring at it. I always closed my bedroom door when I left for work. Always. It was a habit I'd developed living with roommates for years. You close your bedroom door, you protect your private space. It was automatic, unconscious, like locking the front door or turning off the lights. But the door was open, wide open. I stood there, trying to remember the morning. Had I been rushing? Had I forgotten? I'd woken up at 6:30, same as always. Showered, made coffee, got dressed, grabbed my bag, locked the front door on my way out. Had I closed the bedroom door? I was 99% sure I had, but I couldn't be 100% certain. I walked through the apartment carefully, checked all the windows, locked. Front door, locked, just as I'd left it. Bathroom, nothing unusual. Living room, exactly as I'd left it this morning. Everything else was normal, completely normal. Just the bedroom door, standing open when it should have been closed. I convinced myself I'd forgotten. Stress at work, the distraction of the move. I'd just forgotten this one time. I closed the door firmly and went to bed. But I lay there for a long time before I fell asleep, staring at that closed door in the darkness. Day 9, Tuesday morning. I have a very specific morning routine. I'm a creature of habit. Wake up at 6:30, stumble to the bathroom, turn on the shower while I brush my teeth, let it warm up while I wake up. That Tuesday morning, I went into the bathroom at 6:30, same as always. Turned the shower handle to start the water. The water that came out was already warm. Not hot, not running, but warm. Like someone had used the shower recently, maybe an hour ago, and the pipes hadn't fully cooled down yet. I stood there in my pajamas, hand under the stream of water, feeling that faint warmth. Old building, I told myself. Old plumbing. Maybe the pipes run near the radiator or hot water heater. Maybe they just stay a little warm. That's probably normal for a building this old. But I'd taken showers every day for a week, and this was the first time the water had been warm when I turned it on. I showered anyway. What else was I going to do? But the feeling stayed with me all day at work. That wrongness. That sense that something wasn't right. That evening, I tested it. Before bed, I ran my hand under the cold tap in the shower. Stone cold, as it should be. The next morning, I tested it again before turning on the shower. Cold. I told myself I'd imagined it, or misremembered, or it was just a one-time thing with the plumbing, but I knew what I'd felt. Day 12, Friday evening. I'm meticulous about my morning routine. Coffee is always first. I have the same blue ceramic mug every morning, a gift from my sister when I graduated college. It has a cartoon cat on it and says, "I hate mornings," in a speech bubble. Every morning, make coffee, pour it in the blue mug, leave the mug on the counter by the coffee maker when I leave for work. I'll wash it when I get home. That Friday morning had been no different. I'd been running a few minutes late, made my coffee, drank it while getting ready, left the mug on the counter with dried coffee residue in the bottom. I remembered specifically thinking, I'll wash that tonight. I came home around 6:30 that evening. The blue mug was in the cabinet, clean, washed, put away in its spot on the shelf with my other mugs. I stood in the kitchen, staring at that cabinet, my heart starting to beat faster. I had not washed that mug. I was absolutely certain. I left it on the counter this morning with coffee stains in it. I'd specifically made a mental note to wash it later, but there it was, clean, put away. I checked the dish drainer, empty. The sink, empty. The dishwasher, empty. Hadn't run it in days. Someone had washed my coffee mug and put it away. I sat down at my kitchen table and forced myself to think logically. Option 1. I'd washed it this morning and forgotten, but I'd been late. I remembered rushing out the door. Option 2. I'd washed it some other time and confused the days, but I used that mug every single morning. Today was Friday. I distinctly remembered using it this morning. Option 3. Someone else had washed it. But who? I lived alone. I hadn't had visitors. Bob had the keys, but why would he come into my apartment to wash a single coffee mug? I opened a note on my laptop and started a list. Day 6, bedroom door open. Day 9, shower warm. Day 12, coffee mug washed and put away. Looking at it written out, I felt ridiculous. These were such small things, trivial things, the kind of things you could easily explain away, but together they formed a pattern. And there was something else, something I'd been noticing but hadn't wanted to acknowledge. Sometimes when I came home from work, the apartment felt different, not obviously different, nothing I could point to, but different, like the air had been disturbed, like someone had just been there moments before I arrived. Sometimes I'd walk in and feel it immediately, that sense of recent presence, like walking into a room right after someone leaves and you can still feel that they were there. I told myself I was being paranoid. New apartment, living alone for the first time, probably just hyper aware of everything. That's normal, right? But that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to every sound the old building made, the radiators clanking, the neighbors' footsteps above. Wait, no, I was on the top floor. There were no neighbors above me, just the roof and the crawl space. That's when I heard it for the first time. A soft creaking sound directly above my bedroom, like someone walking slowly, carefully, trying to be quiet. I held my breath and listened. Creak, pause, creak, pause, moving from one end of the apartment to the other right above my ceiling. Then silence. I waited in the dark for 20 minutes, heart pounding, listening. Nothing. Old building, I told myself. Old buildings settle. They make noises. Completely normal. But I knew what floorboards sounded like when someone walked on them. I'd grown up in an old house. I knew that particular sound. I didn't sleep well that night. October moved into week 3. The strange occurrences didn't stop. They evolved. They got harder to dismiss. Items kept appearing in places I hadn't left them. A book I'd been reading, left on the coffee table, would be back on the bookshelf. My TV remote would migrate from the couch to the kitchen counter. The throw blanket I kept on the couch would be neatly folded instead of casually draped. Small things, subtle things, things you could convince yourself you'd done and forgotten. But I hadn't forgotten. I was sure of it. I started testing myself. Before I left for work, I'd place something in a specific spot and take a photo of it. Then I'd check when I got home. A pen on the kitchen counter pointing north. I'd come home to find it pointing east. My bedroom slippers left beside my bed. I'd come home to find them tucked neatly underneath. I had the photos, proof that I wasn't imagining things, proof that someone was moving my belongings. But who would believe me? And what could I even say? Help? Someone is organizing my apartment? Day 17. A Wednesday night. I was lying in bed reading around 11 p.m. when I heard it again, the creaking from above. But this time it was different. This time it was accompanied by another sound, scratching, soft, deliberate scratching, like fingernails on wood, coming from inside the wall behind my headboard. I sat up in bed, my book forgotten, listening to that sound drag slowly across the wall, back and forth, back and forth. My heart was hammering. Every rational thought was screaming that this had to be rats or mice or some animal in the walls. Old building, pests, that's all it was. But it didn't sound like an animal. It sounded deliberate, measured, human. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it at the wall. The scratching stopped immediately. I sat there in the sudden silence, phone flashlight illuminating the ordinary cream-colored wall, breathing hard. Nothing happened. I waited for 10 minutes, 20, half an hour. Silence. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat up in bed, lights on, jumping at every sound. Day 21, Sunday morning. I'd been sleeping poorly all week, anxious, hypervigilant, waking up at every sound. That Sunday, I woke up around 9 a.m., later than usual, stumbled to the bathroom, still half asleep. I stopped dead in the doorway. There was a smell, a scent that absolutely did not belong in my apartment. Men's cologne, not strong, like someone had just sprayed it. Faint, like someone had been wearing it hours ago and traces still lingered in the air. a woody, masculine scent with notes of cedar and something spicy. I stood frozen in my bathroom doorway, breathing in that smell, my brain trying to process what it meant. I lived alone. I hadn't had any visitors. No men had been in my apartment. None of my male friends had stopped by. I checked the bathroom window, locked, just as it always was. The front door, locked and dead-bolted from the inside, exactly how I'd left it when I went to bed. There was no way anyone could have gotten in, but that smell was there, unmistakable, real. I walked through my entire apartment, checking every window, every lock, every closet, looking for any sign of entry, any explanation. Everything was locked. Everything was secure. But my apartment smelled like a man's cologne. I sat on my bathroom floor and started to shake, because this wasn't something I could explain away. This wasn't my imagination. This wasn't me forgetting something. This was wrong. This was violating. This was real. I called Bob that afternoon, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hi, Maya. Everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's fine. I've been hearing some sounds at night. Creaking sounds from the crawl space, I think, and scratching in the walls. I wanted to check if that's normal." "Oh, sure, he said, and I could hear him nodding on the other end. Old buildings make all kinds of noises, especially this time of year when the temperature's changing. The wood expands and contracts. The pipes shift. It's totally normal. Nothing to worry about." He paused. "But if you're concerned about it, I'm happy to come take a look. I could swing by this week sometime. Check the crawl space, make sure everything's good up there." The thought of him in my apartment made my skin crawl. I didn't know why. He was my landlord. He was supposed to be helpful, but something about the idea of him having access to my space when I wasn't there made me deeply uncomfortable. "That's okay," I said quickly. "I just wanted to check if it was normal. I'm sure it's fine." "Well, you call me anytime if you need anything," he said warmly. "That's what I'm here for. Don't hesitate." After I hung up, I felt worse, not better, because his explanation made perfect sense. Old buildings do creak, pipes do shift, temperature changes cause expansion and contraction. It all made sense, except for the cologne smell. He hadn't explained that, because I hadn't told him about it. How could I? What would I even say? "Hi, Bob. My apartment smells like men's cologne, and I think someone's been here." I'd sound insane, but I wasn't insane. I knew what I was experiencing. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. Day 28. The night everything changed. I woke up at 3 a.m. to a sound I'd heard before, the scratching inside the wall behind my headboard. But this time, I was ready. I'd gone to Home Depot that afternoon and bought 2 security cameras, indoor cameras with night vision and motion detection. They connected to my phone via an app. I could watch live feeds, get notifications when they detected movement, and review recorded footage. I'd installed one in the living room, angled to cover the front door and windows. One in the bedroom, positioned in the corner to capture the door, the bookshelves, and most of the room, including my bed. The cameras had been running for exactly 6 hours. That night, lying in bed at 3 a.m. listening to the scratching in the walls, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Power. Because whatever was happening, I was going to catch it on camera. I fell asleep around midnight. The camera's small LED lights blinking softly in the darkness like tiny guardian eyes. I woke up at 6:30 to my alarm. First thing I did before I even got out of bed was grab my phone and open the camera app. Living room camera. I scrolled through the night's timeline. Nothing unusual. Just me coming home from work, moving around the apartment, going to bed around 11:30. Normal. Bedroom camera. Same thing. Me reading in bed. Turning off the light around midnight. Sleeping. I scrolled through the timeline, ready to feel foolish, ready to accept that I'd spent money on cameras to capture absolutely nothing. Then I saw it. 3:17 a.m. movement notification. I tapped the clip with a finger that was starting to shake. The footage showed my bedroom in the camera's night vision. Everything had a slight greenish tint. I could see myself in bed, completely still, deeply asleep. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, in the top right corner of the frame, near the ceiling by the built-in bookshelf, the bookshelf moved. Not the whole thing, just the top section. The section that should have been firmly attached to the wall. It pushed outward about 6 inches, like someone was pushing it from behind. It stayed open for 2 seconds. Then slowly, carefully, it moved back into place. I watched the clip again and again, 7 times total. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I scrolled forward in the timeline, my heart pounding. 3:41 a.m., another movement notification. I tapped it. This time the bookshelf section pushed outward wider, maybe a foot, creating a gap between the bookshelf and the wall. And through that gap, barely visible in the camera's night vision, a person. Someone was crawling through the opening, moving slowly, carefully, emerging from the space behind my bedroom bookshelf. The figure was wearing light-colored clothing. I could see pale skin, glasses that caught the faint infrared light from the camera. It was Bob. My landlord was crawling out of a hidden space behind my bedroom bookshelf at 3:41 in the morning while I slept 5 feet away from him. I made it to the bathroom before I threw up. When I could breathe again, when I could think, I locked the bathroom door and sat on the floor with my phone. I went through every single camera clip from that night. 3:17 a.m. Bookshelf moves outward slightly. He's checking if I'm asleep. 3:41 a.m. Bob enters through the bookshelf opening. 3:43 a.m. He stands at the foot of my bed, just standing there, watching me sleep for 2 full minutes. 3:45 a.m. He walks to my dresser, touches my things, picks up my jewelry. 3:47 a.m. He opens my closet, touches my clothes. 3:52 a.m. He goes to the bathroom. I can hear water running off camera. He's using my shower. 4:03 a.m. He returns to the bedroom, stands over me again. 4:05 a.m. He climbs back through the bookshelf opening. 4:07 a.m. The bookshelf closes. 18 minutes. He'd been in my apartment, in my bedroom while I slept for 18 minutes. And that was just last night. Just the one night I'd had cameras. How many other nights had he been there? How many times had he stood over my bed watching me? How many times had he touched my things, used my shower, breathed my air? The warm shower on day 9, the moved items, the cologne smell, the bedroom door left open. It hadn't been my imagination. It had all been him. Every single thing I'd noticed, every instinct I'd had that something was wrong, I'd been right. I sat on my bathroom floor at 6:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning, my entire body shaking, trying to process what I knew. My landlord, Bob Hendricks, the nice man with the warm smile and the reasonable rent, had built a hidden entrance behind my bedroom bookshelf. He'd been using it to enter my apartment while I slept. He'd been watching me, touching my belongings, using my bathroom. He'd been living in my walls. For how long? Since I moved in? Since before I moved in? Previous tenant was here for 8 years. Hated to see her go. Oh my God, had he been doing this to her too? For 8 years? My phone was in my hand. I needed to call someone. The police, my parents, my sister, someone. But it was 6:47 a.m. and I had to make a decision that would define everything that came next. Option 1, run. Pack a bag right now. Leave. Never come back. Call the police from somewhere safe. Option 2, stay. Catch him. Make sure he never does this to anyone else ever again. I chose option 2. I called 911 at 7:15 a.m. from my car, parked 3 blocks from my apartment building. I couldn't stay in that apartment another second, but I wasn't running away. 911, what's your emergency? My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. I have video evidence of my landlord breaking into my apartment at night. Multiple instances. He's been living in hidden spaces in the walls and entering my unit while I sleep. There was a pause. A long pause. Then, ma'am, are you in a safe location right now? Yes, I'm in my car. I left the apartment. He doesn't know I know. Don't go back to the apartment. Officers are being dispatched to your current location. Stay on the line with me. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in an interview room at the Seattle Police Department. The walls were beige. There was a mirror that was obviously one-way glass, a metal table, plastic chairs. Across from me sat Detective Sarah Reeves. She was in her mid-40s, with short dark hair going gray at the temples, sharp, intelligent eyes that had seen everything. She wore a dark blazer over a simple shirt, no wedding ring, a detective's badge clipped to her belt. She listened to my entire story without interrupting, took notes in a small notebook, didn't react, didn't judge, just listened. When I finished, she said, "Can I see the footage?" I handed her my phone. She watched every clip I'd marked. The bookshelf moving at 3:17, Bob entering at 3:41, him standing over my bed, walking around my room, disappearing into my bathroom, finally leaving at 4:07. Her jaw got tighter with each clip. "How long have you lived there?" she asked. 28 days, exactly 4 weeks. "And the cameras have been up for?" "1 night. Last night was the first night I had them installed." She looked at me, really looked at me. You trusted your instincts. That's good. That's really good. A lot of people don't. They talk themselves out of it, tell themselves they're being paranoid. I almost did, I admitted. For weeks I thought I was going crazy. You weren't going crazy. Your instincts were telling you something was wrong because something was wrong. She tapped her pen on her notebook. I'm going to be honest with you, Maya. This is one of the most disturbing cases I've seen in 15 years of doing this job, but we have solid evidence. We have him on camera. We're going to get him. She made some calls. Within an hour, she'd obtained an emergency warrant and called in a building inspector. By noon, we were back at my apartment building with a full team, uniformed officers, plainclothes detectives, a building inspector with all his equipment. I waited in the hallway while the building inspector went up through the ceiling access panel Bob had shown me on move-in day. The panel I'd barely thought about since. I could hear him moving around up there. Footsteps on what sounded like plywood. The beam of his flashlight visible through the ceiling panel opening. He was up there for 25 minutes. When he came down, his face was grim. There's a whole network up here, he said, brushing dust from his clothes. Plywood flooring, LED strip lighting running off the building's electrical. It's been modified extensively. There are passages running between the wall studs of multiple units. Someone's spent a lot of time and effort building this. He pulled out his phone and showed us photographs. The crawl space wasn't just empty space with exposed pipes and insulation like you'd expect. Bob had turned it into livable space. Narrow corridors ran between the walls, with the plywood flooring making it possible to move around without putting weight on the ceiling drywall. LED strip lights were attached to the roof joists, providing illumination. And there were modifications to the walls of different apartments. Small openings covered with removable panels, observation points, ways to see down into the units below. Behind my bedroom bookshelf, the inspector found a carefully constructed door. The entire top section of the bookshelf was mounted on concealed hinges. From inside the crawl space, you could push it open and climb through into my bedroom. This required significant structural modification, the inspector said. This wasn't done in a day or a week. This was planned, constructed over time, probably years. They found more when they searched Bob's section of the crawl space, a sleeping bag and pillow, changes of clothes neatly folded, toiletries, soap, shampoo, deodorant, cologne, the cologne I'd smelled in my bathroom, granola bars and bottled water, a laptop, binoculars, and a plastic storage bin. Inside the bin, hundreds of photographs and journals. The photographs were of me and other women I'd never met. Photos of us sleeping, showering, getting dressed, going about our lives in our apartments, completely unaware we were being watched. Some photos were taken from above, through ceiling vents, looking down into our apartments. Some were taken from inside our apartments, from the foot of the bed, from closets, from doorways. The journals were worse. They contained detailed logs, our schedules, our routines, where we worked, what time we left in the morning, what time we came home, who visited us, what we ate, what we wore, what we watched on TV, personal observations, opinions, descriptions, It was all there, our entire lives, documented by someone we'd trusted with our homes. Detective Reeves laid it all out for me in the station that evening. 5 women total, spanning 6 years. 2 previous tenants in my unit. The teacher who lived there for 8 years and left to get married, and a woman before her who'd stayed for 2 years. 2 women in the unit below mine, 1 woman in the unit next door. All of us young, all of us living alone, all of us paying below market rent. Bob Hendricks owned the building outright. He'd bought it in 1992 for $150,000, back when Seattle real estate was still affordable. He'd paid it off completely in 15 years. He lived in a house 3 blocks away with his wife of 30 years, Janet. She had no idea what he was doing. When detectives interviewed her, she was devastated. The investigation confirmed she was telling the truth. She hadn't known. Bob had been doing all the renovations on the building himself for the past 8 years. DIY projects, he told his wife. Updating the plumbing, improving the electrical, maintaining the property value. She'd never questioned it. That's when he built the crawl space network, bit by bit, modification by modification, creating his secret world between the walls. He specifically targeted young women living alone. He kept the rents below market to reduce turnover and attract the exact type of tenant he wanted. Women who were grateful for affordable housing. Women who wouldn't ask too many questions. Women who would stay. The previous tenant in my unit, the teacher who'd been there 8 years. Detective Reeves tracked her down. She left, she told them, because she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Items would move. She'd hear sounds at night. Sometimes the apartment felt occupied when it should have been empty. She thought the building was haunted. She'd never reported it. She'd never told anyone except her fiancé, who convinced her she was just stressed from work and spending too much time alone. She'd moved out and married him and tried to forget the 8 years of feeling watched in her own home. She'd never known she was right. We've located 4 of the 5 women, Detective Reeves told me. We're going to need all of you to testify. This is going to trial. But first, I need to ask you something. She leaned forward across the metal table. Do you want to catch him in the act? Or do we arrest him now based on the evidence we already have? I looked at her, at this detective who'd believed me immediately, who'd taken me seriously, who'd mobilized an entire team to investigate within hours. What's the difference? I asked. The evidence we have is strong, she said. The camera footage, the hidden crawl space, the photographs and journals. We can arrest him right now and the DA will prosecute. He'll go to prison. She paused. But if you're willing, we can catch him in the act. You go back to the apartment. Act normal. Go to bed. We'll have plainclothes officers in the building, a tactical team outside. The moment he enters your apartment through that bookshelf, we move in. It makes the case absolutely airtight. No room for any defense attorney to create doubt. Is it safe? I asked. You'll be wearing a wire. We'll be monitoring the camera feed live. The second he enters, we're there. You'll never be in actual danger. I thought about the other women, the teacher who lived there for 8 years, thinking she was losing her mind, the others who'd felt violated but never known why. I thought about Bob Hendricks, standing over my bed while I slept, believing he'd gotten away with it. believing he could do this forever. "I want to do it," I said. "I want to catch him." The plan was simple, Detective Reeves explained. I would go back to my apartment that evening, act completely normal, as if nothing had changed, go through my regular routine, go to bed at my usual time. I'd be wearing a wire, a small transmitter taped to my ribs under my clothes. They'd be listening to everything. The bedroom camera would stay in place, streaming live to the detectives. They'd be watching. Plainclothes officers would be stationed in the unit below mine, ready to move. A tactical team would be in an unmarked van outside the building. The moment Bob entered my apartment through the bookshelf, they'd move in. Fast, coordinated. No chance for him to escape or hurt me. "We need to catch him in the act of unlawful entry," Detective Reeves explained. "The evidence we have is incredibly strong, but actually catching him inside your apartment at night without your permission, it makes the case unbeatable. His lawyers won't be able to create any doubt." She looked at me seriously. "But you need to understand, you don't have to do this. We can arrest him tomorrow morning based on what we have. You've already been through enough. You don't need to put yourself through this, too." "No," I said. "I want to do this. I need to do this." What I didn't tell her was that I needed to face him. I needed to look him in the eye and let him know that I knew, that I'd figured it out, that he hadn't won, that I wasn't his victim. I was the person who caught him. That evening, I went back to my apartment. I was terrified. My hands shook as I unlocked the front door. Everything looked the same as when I'd left that morning, but now I couldn't stop seeing it differently. The bookshelf in my bedroom wasn't just a bookshelf anymore. It was a door, a violation, the place where a predator crawled through to watch me sleep. The wire transmitter was taped to my ribs. I could feel it with every breath. The plainclothes officers were already downstairs. The tactical team was in position outside. Detective Reeves's voice came through the tiny earpiece they'd given me. "We're here, Maya. You're not alone. Just go through your normal routine." I went through the motions of a normal evening, made dinner, pasta, because it was Thursday, and I always made pasta on Thursdays. Watched TV, an episode of a show I'd been following. Got ready for bed at 10:30, brushed my teeth, changed into pajamas, washed my face. Everything normal. Everything routine. Except I was wearing a wire, and there were police officers listening to everything and watching the camera feed. And my landlord was going to crawl through my wall at some point in the next few hours. I got into bed at 11. Left the bedside lamp on for a few minutes, like I always did, reading a book. My heart was pounding so hard, I was sure the wire was picking it up, transmitting my fear to everyone listening. At 11:15, I turned off the light, and I waited. I lay in the darkness with my eyes half closed, watching the bookshelf through my lashes, listening to every sound. The radiators clanked softly. The building settled. Someone's TV played faintly from another unit. Minute after minute passed. Midnight came and went. The wire transmitter was uncomfortable against my ribs. My legs cramped from lying so still. I wanted to shift position, but I couldn't look awake. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Maybe he wouldn't come. Maybe somehow he'd sensed that something was wrong. Maybe he'd seen me leave with the police this morning. Maybe at 2:41 a.m. I heard it. That familiar soft creak. The sound I'd been hearing for weeks and convincing myself was the building settling. It was coming from the bookshelf. I kept my eyes half closed, my breathing steady and slow, like I was deeply asleep. My heart was hammering, but I didn't move. The top section of the bookshelf began to move, slowly, carefully, pushing outward from the wall. Through my lashes, I could see the gap widening, could see the darkness of the crawl space behind it. And then Bob Hendricks crawled through. He was wearing pajama pants and a white t-shirt. His wire-rimmed glasses were on. His thinning hair was slightly messy. He moved like someone who'd done this 1,000 times, confident, practiced. He stood up inside my bedroom and just looked at me, just stood there at the foot of my bed, watching me sleep. I could feel his eyes on me, could hear his breathing. My every instinct was screaming at me to run, to scream, to move, but I stayed perfectly still, eyes almost closed, breathing steady. He took a step closer to my bed. That's when I sat up and turned on the bedside lamp. "Hello, Bob." He froze, completely froze. For 3 seconds, we just stared at each other in the sudden bright light, him in his pajamas, caught in my bedroom at 2:41 in the morning, me sitting up in bed looking directly at him, seeing him, really seeing him for the first time. The nice landlord with the warm smile was gone. In his place was just a man who'd been caught. "Maya, his face went white. "I can explain. Can you?" My voice was steadier than I felt, steadier than I had any right to be. "Can you explain why you're in my bedroom in the middle of the night, Bob? Can you explain the hidden door, the photographs I found, the journals documenting every detail of my life, the other women?" His eyes widened. He understood then. I knew everything. "What? No, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You built a network in the crawl space. You modified the bookshelf to swing open. You've been entering my apartment while I sleep, watching me, touching my things, using my shower. I was standing now, on my bed, putting distance between us. I have you on camera, Bob, multiple times. I have evidence. I have witnesses. I have everything." His face changed. The fear turned to something else, something harder. "This is my building," he said. Not loud, not shouting, but there was an edge to his voice I'd never heard before. "My property. I own it. I have every right." That's when the tactical team came through my front door. "Seattle police, don't move. Hands where we can see them." Bob turned toward the bookshelf, but there was nowhere to go. 4 officers in tactical gear swarmed into my bedroom. On the ground. Now. They had him in handcuffs in less than 5 seconds. "Robert Hendricks, you are under arrest for stalking, voyeurism, burglary, and criminal trespassing." As they hauled him to his feet, he looked at me, not with remorse, with anger, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. "This is my building," he said, "my property. I have every right." "You have the right to remain silent," one of the officers cut him off. "I suggest you use it." They took him out of my life. I never slept in that apartment again. The evidence was overwhelming. The camera footage of him entering my apartment, watching me sleep, the hidden crawl space he'd constructed with a sleeping bag, supplies, laptop, the photographs, hundreds of them, of me and 4 other women in our private moments, the journals, years of detailed observations about our schedules, our habits, our lives. His defense attorney tried everything, but it didn't matter. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in prison and required him to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. 5 women finally had answers. All of us had noticed strange things, items moving, feeling watched, strange sounds. All of us had questioned ourselves. All of us had been told we were being paranoid. We'd all been right. The first months after the arrest were the hardest of my life. I couldn't stay in that apartment. I moved out the next day. I started therapy. I had PTSD, hypervigilance, trust issues, insomnia, nightmares. This is all normal, my therapist told me. These are normal responses to abnormal trauma. It took me 4 months before I could get my own apartment again. When I did, I was specific about what I needed. Ground floor only, new construction, no attics, no crawl spaces, no hidden spaces, security building with cameras everywhere. I still check the vents. I still look at ceilings. I still have security cameras in every room, but I'm sleeping again. Most nights. 6 months after the arrest, I started speaking publicly about what happened. I testified before the Washington State Legislature. I told them about Bob, about the 5 victims, about the hidden spaces he'd used to stalk us. I proposed new legislation requiring landlords to disclose any modifications to attics, crawl spaces, or wall cavities, requiring inspection and sealing of access points, making it a specific crime to create hidden observation points in rental properties. They listened. In 2024, Washington State passed what's now called the Hidden Spaces Act. It's not perfect, but it's something. It's protection that didn't exist before. Other states are looking at similar legislation. Oregon, California, New York. Something good came from something terrible. Today, 2 years later, I'm healing. I got promoted at work. I'm in a healthy relationship with someone who understands when I need to check the locks. I'm writing a memoir about what happened, not for money or attention, but because I want other survivors to know they're not alone. The other 4 women and I stay in touch. We've become an unexpected family, bonded by the worst thing that ever happened to us. Bob Hendricks is in prison. He'll be there for another 10 years. And I'm free. If you're watching this right now and something feels wrong in your home, I want you to trust yourself. I want you to listen to that instinct that tells you something isn't right. You are not crazy. You are not paranoid. You are not imagining things. That instinct that tells you something is wrong, that's millions of years of evolution trying to keep you safe. Listen to it. I survived. I caught him. I fought back. I made sure he couldn't do it to anyone else. And I won. You can too. You're not alone. Help exists. You just have to reach for it. My name is Maya Patterson. 2 years ago, I discovered that my landlord was living in my walls. I survived it. I fought back. I caught him. I'm telling you this story because I want you to know you're not alone. If something feels wrong, trust yourself. Your instinct is right, and you are stronger than you know.